What Bible verses have helped me through hard times? I could almost write my autobiography answering that question. What I'll do is talk briefly about two passages from the Hebrew Bible and two from the New Testament that have offered me comfort in hard times. The first comes from Matthew 11. I'm thinking of a passage where Jesus says, "Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." We labor under a lot of different things, emotional burdens, physical burdens. Honest to goodness, I think the burden of busyness is one that most of us live under. And in this passage, I've found great comfort to lay down my briefcase, my cell phone, the laundry basket, the bills, all the concerns of life, and simply to rest in the presence of God. In the same vein, I find Psalm 23 as comforting as many people do. That famous psalm about the Lord being my shepherd, leading me beside still waters, restoring my soul. Also walking with me through the valley of the shadow of death. You'll note there's no way around that valley, but there is the promise of company and comfort through that valley. So Psalm 23 has also been a great comfort to me in hard times. You'll notice, though, that in both these passages I've mentioned, there's a lot of me in it. And if this is my autobiography, then I have to tell you, too, that when I studied the book of Job, I found in it a whole different kind of comfort. Because in it, Job is God's blameless servant, has never done anything wrong, and is struck down by a whole trio of calamities. It begins with the senseless murder of his sons and his daughters, and then the loss of all of his livestock, and finally his own affliction with boils from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. And he rails at God. He wants God to explain why this has happened to him. Job complains for 37 chapters. And in chapter 38, when God finally speaks, the answer God gives Job roughly is, who do you think you are? Where were you when I made the earth? And who are you to question me? Let me take you on a whirlwind tour of the cosmos. And then God shows Job ostriches and wild oxes and eagles and horses in the desert. He shows him stars and oceans and clouds. He shows Job everything in the universe that God has made, including sea monsters. The only thing he never shows Job is another human being. And in that I find an odd but terrific kind of comfort that I am part of something bigger than myself, and that my needs, my hard places are not the only ones on God's to-do list. So in Job, the whole book of Job, and especially chapter 38, I find terrific comfort in hard times with the idea that God loves me, but God doesn't love only me, that I'm part of a whole luminous web that God loves. I'm part of it, but I'm not all of it. The final passage that gives me comfort now comes from Matthew 22, where a lawyer asks Jesus, what's the greatest teaching in the law? And Jesus tells him that the great commandment is to love God with all the heart and soul and mind, and the neighbor as the self. Why is that a comfort to me? Because I sometimes get overwhelmed by all that I think I am supposed to be doing in this life. And in this double love commandment, my job doesn't get easier, but it becomes clear to me. I hope as you listen to my short list of passages, you're led to think about your own and to search the Bible as a treasure house of passages full of food to meet all the heart's hungers and hurts, especially, I think, the hunger to give ourselves away for love.